Hello everyone, it's Misty. Welcome back to another card video. Today I'm going to show you how I made this clean and simple card using some masking paper and these beautiful inks from Simon Says Stamp. The challenge this week at the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday challenge is clean and simple, and we are featuring products from Hero Arts. If you'd like to join the challenge this week, I'll have a link to the Simon Says Stamp blog in the description below. Alright, to get started, I am starting out with a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock here because I was going to do this with Distress oxide inks, but I love these colors from Simon Says Stamp, so I decided to use these colors instead. I just forgot to swap out my paper. But that's okay, they blend beautifully on Bristol smooth paper as well. Alright, so I have my masking paper here. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to cut a 1-inch strip. And I was originally going to put it on the right side of the card and then have a space big enough for the feather stamp and then mask off the other side of the card. But I'm going to end up switching that around by accident. I just happen to have it upside down and I liked it that way better. So I'm going to put the 1-inch strip all the way to the edge on the right side here. And I didn't realize it yet, but I wish I would have. I wish I would have cut the masking paper longer than my card front here. So I wish I would have cut it instead of 5.5. I wish I would have cut it at 6 because since I'm ink blending from top to bottom, it would have been nice to have the masking paper stick to my grid paper here, or I'm going to switch it over to my craft mat here in a second. But yeah, it really had nothing to stick to. So when I'm coloring vertically, the corner is going to lift a little bit here in a second, but that's okay. I'm going to fix it. But next time, if I make this card again, I'll make sure I cut the masking paper to be longer than my card front here. So I'm just measuring it to make sure my lines are straight. I guess I could have used my grid paper too, but I was being thorough. It'd be horrible to do all this ink blending and find out that my lines were not straight. And then I had that little extra piece there, so I cut that off because I don't need it to stick, hang over on the left and right side since I'm not blending that way. I needed it to be over on the top and bottom. I hope that makes sense. Because see, as I go here, it's stuck to the paper, but it would have been nice to have a little bit to stick on the craft mat too, so hopefully it would have stayed down better than it did. But it's just that corner right there. It might have done it even if I had a longer piece, but I have that little sand eraser thingamajig, so I figured I'd just keep going, and yes, look at that. Darn it. Figured I'd just keep going and then use that to get that ink off, because I wasn't about to start all over. Alright, so I started out with the Hot Mama, and then I'm going to move on to Teeny Bikini, MALIBLUE, and then Melon. So I know I've been MIA for a couple weeks. I think, I don't know, mid-December was the last video I posted, but unfortunately I was in and out of the hospital through the entire holiday, starting a couple days before Christmas and then ending a couple days after New Year. So it was not a fun holiday for me. I was in the hospital Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and maybe even Christmas Eve. I can't remember, but anyway, moving forward. Alright, so this is my favorite part. I love pulling off the masking paper and, seeing how crisp those white lines are. I love that. And I love how this turned out too. So I'm just going to use my little sand eraser and hope it works on the corner there. And it does. Look how good that works. And even the edge of the paper, because I started off the paper, the edge of the paper had a purple on it too. So I just did the same thing. Used a little eraser right on the edge. And it was good as new. Kind of. You can see it a little bit, but that's okay. That's what I always say. That's how you know it's handmade, is the little mistakes on it. I say that, but I have a hard time with mistakes. I pay attention to the little details, and it drives me nuts, stuff like that, but I'm trying to let stuff like that go. So I'm going to use a sentiment that says, be free and dream. I liked that saying. This is such a pretty stamp set. I love this feather with the birds coming out of it. I've seen a lot of tattoos like that. And I also like the, oh, what is that? Is it a dandelion? I think it is, with the birds flying out. That's a cool one too. The sentiments are pretty awesome. So double duty here. I'm taking my masking paper that I used, and I'm using it like a lint roller to clean my black foam that's in my mini Misty. Hey, it worked. Got all the little paper pieces off. I think I had a couple cat hairs in there too. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to use some of the Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, and I'm going to stamp this out a couple times. I wasn't stamping the sentiment yet because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I thought about maybe heat embossing it in maybe, I don't know what I was thinking, but I just didn't want to commit to the black sentiment yet. So I'm going to stamp it out a couple times, and unfortunately, well, it doesn't matter. Embossing powder would have went over it, but I got a little bit on the sentiment and I had a little black smudge on it, so I figured that it was just meant to be black. So I stuck with that, and I'm glad I did because it kind of, makes everything cohesive. But I'm going to stamp that out a couple times too, just to make sure I have a nice crisp image. And then I thought about just putting it on my card front like that, but with the black sentiment and the black image, I decided I wanted to add a really thin black border around it. I think it came out to be about a 1/16 of an inch, something like that. But, I have a hard time with clean and simple cards. I always feel like I want to add something else to them. So clean and simple cards are a challenge for me, which feels really weird to say because they're supposed to be clean and simple. Should be the easiest kind of card to make, but nope, not for me. All right, I'm going to use some liquid adhesive here. I'm using the Tombow Mono liquid glue, and I'm going to use that to put everything together. I've been using, well, I haven't made a card in 3 weeks, but even before that, I've been reaching for my liquid glue lately as opposed to my ATG. And I used to always use liquid glue. I'm not quite sure how I got away from that, but I'm going back to the liquid glues. I just love that you have a couple seconds to move stuff around just in case it's not in the right position. And with the ATG and even with the score tape, once you put those babies down, you are not getting it back up unless you ruin the whole card. But the ATG and the score tape I'll still use for other things. I love the score tape for on craft foam, but for this I'm using the liquid glue. I'm looking at this card. I wish I would have put the sentiment a little bit closer together, but that's okay. I think it still looks fine. So I'm going to add just a few jewels here. This is the metallic silver jewels by Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm just going to play around with the placement till I find a position that I like. And then I haven't made a card in 3 weeks, but yet my glue syringe here was not clogged. That's amazing to me. I love these glue syringes. Every other non-clog tip that I've used, they've always clogged. So I'm still loving this glue syringe. And I'll have a link to these. The gal I got it from has an Etsy shop and she sells them ready to go. So I'll put a link in the description below for that as well. She's also a fellow card maker. And that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I'll have all the supplies that I used listed and linked in the description below. And you can always head over to my blog for more information as well. If you want to join us for the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday Challenge, head to my blog. There'll be links there as well. If you like this video, please click on that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And also click on the bell icon so that you'll be notified when I post a new video, which is once a week. All right, thanks. Bye.